climate change is an area that nobody has the answer to. So Australia is struggling with an issue that nobody else has solved. So it would be unrealistic to expect first strike you solve this very difficult problem very effectively. That said, in my view, there are significant lessons to learn from the basin plan and the way it's been done. I think the first issue is the Water Act of 2007, at least at my reading, basically says the environment comes first and people do with what's left.
One thing the authority did not do in the guideline, and in my view should have, was to define how much water has already been purchased or saved through efficient investment in efficiency measures, and it, I believe, would total something like 1,000 gigalitres a year. So in other words, we're a third of the way towards the target.
Science is very imprecise in this area, and the trade-offs that have to be made between human uses and environmental uses is not, in my view, something that is the responsibility of an authority. It is the responsibility of government to weigh, to find paths forward in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of certainty about the costs of taking water away from farmers. They know what it's going to cost them in terms of reduced production or having to leave their farm. The communities know what will happen to asset valuations, housing valuations, farm valuations if water is taken away from them. So there's a lot of precision in determining the costs of reduced allocations to regional areas, to rural communities. On the other hand, there's great uncertainty about the benefits of putting extra water into the rivers. We know that, yes, there's the salinity levels, what's happened in the Murray mouth, these are serious problems that have actually been solved by rainfall for the moment. The question is, should we really be making the strong, firm allocations recommended by the Murray Darling Basin Authority in its plan, or its guide to the plan, as it's called?
Water buybacks from irrigation is a cost-effective way of getting water for the environment, but they should not be seen in isolation. For example, we need to look at the total costs and benefits, and for example, we could buy water in an area that has salinity problems and gain the benefit of salinity credits. So it would make sense to buy water out of areas that have got salinity problems.
I think the process leaves quite a bit to be desired. It's basically been done essentially behind closed doors in Canberra, and even if the solution that came out of that was a good solution, I think it would have been met with a lot of skepticism, essentially because of the process that was followed.
There's a need for a great deal of cooperation between the irrigation community and the environmental water managers and the people who operate the river. The two things, irrigation and the environment, have got to be looked at together, not separately, for mutual benefit.
There is a tendency, including actually in the plan document itself, to say, well, we really made a mistake, now we're going to do something different. And I don't think that's the way to cast it. The way to cast it is, we did what was the response to the particular set of challenges we had, and we should be enormously proud because we've built a basis on which we can now move to the next generation of challenges.
We've talked for years about integrated catchment management and not achieved as much as we should. In looking at a catchment, everything is connected to everything else. For example, if farmers grow crops with deeper roots that are capable of surviving and generating profit with less water, they'll dry out the catchment. That means less runoff, less water available for the people downstream. So we have to look at every action that's taken in that catchment and look at all its consequences, not only for the farm on the site or the environmental assets in a piece of river or floodplain. We have to look at the downstream interests as well.
We really think there needs to be more careful analysis of the issues and the options. And that's what this project, this CEDA Harvard Uniwater project, is all about, is looking more carefully at what the options really are and whether there's a better way forward than suggested in the reports to date.